The year is 1833, a year that would be etched into the annals of history for its profound impact on human rights and freedom. Great Britain, a nation at the heart of a vast empire, makes a momentous decision. The British Empire, stretching across continents, was a formidable force, influencing countless lives and cultures. Parliament passes the Slavery Abolition Act, setting in motion the end of slavery in most British colonies. This legislative move was not just a political maneuver but a moral stance against the inhumanity of slavery. This act, effective on August 1, 1834, would change the lives of over 800,000 enslaved people. The news of emancipation spread like wildfire, bringing hope and a promise of a new beginning to those who had endured unimaginable hardships. It marked a turning point in history, a move away from the brutal system of chattel slavery. The breaking of chains symbolized not just physical freedom but the reclaiming of dignity and humanity. But the path to this decision was complex, driven by a confluence of factors: the tireless efforts of abolitionists, the economic shifts, and the growing moral outcry against the atrocities of slavery all played a crucial role. Figures like William Wilberforce, who dedicated their lives to the cause, were instrumental in this monumental change. The Slavery Abolition Act was not just a piece of legislation, it was a testament to the relentless pursuit of justice and equality. It was a beacon of hope, illuminating the path towards a more humane and just society. Why did Britain choose this path? Was it purely out of moral conviction? The answer is more nuanced. Britain's economy was transforming. The Caribbean sugar colonies, once incredibly profitable, faced growing competition. Merchants and industrialists embracing the principles of free trade saw the abolition of slavery as economically advantageous. The old system of colonial monopolies was becoming a hindrance to their ambitions. The abolition of slavery came at a cost, but not for those who had suffered most. The British government paid £20 million to compensate slave owners for their loss of property. This staggering sum, equivalent to billions of pounds today, highlights the economic hold slavery had on the nation. However, the formerly enslaved received nothing. They were left to navigate a world where freedom was often intertwined with poverty and lack of opportunity. The economic realities were only part of the story. The abolitionist movement, gaining momentum for decades, played a crucial role. Individuals like William Wilberforce, a devout Christian and member of Parliament, tirelessly campaigned against the horrors of slavery. They used powerful speeches, pamphlets, and public demonstrations to sway public opinion. In 1833 alone, over 1.3 million people signed petitions demanding an end to slavery. Section 5. Seeds of Rebellion. Across the ocean, in the plantations of the Caribbean, another force was at play: resistance. Enslaved Africans never accepted their fate passively. They rebelled, often violently, against their oppressors. These uprisings, though often brutally suppressed, instilled fear in the hearts of slave owners. The specter of rebellion added urgency to the abolition debate in Britain. Today, physical reminders of this era still exist, offering tangible connections to the past. One such artifact is a silk banner crafted between 1834 and 1865, celebrating the abolition of slavery. This delicate piece of history, valued at £45,000, serves as a poignant reminder of the complexities of the era. It is a symbol of both the triumph of the abolitionist movement and the ongoing struggle for true equality. The Emancipation Act's impact on British North America, however, was more complicated. The Act, passed in 1833, was a monumental step towards ending slavery within the British Empire. It declared that all enslaved people in the British colonies would be freed. However, the reality on the ground was far more nuanced and complex. While the Act aimed to abolish slavery throughout the Empire, its immediate effects in Canada were limited. The Canadian colonies had a relatively small enslaved population compared to other parts of the British Empire, such as the Caribbean. This meant that the sweeping changes envisioned by the Act were not felt as strongly in Canada. Children under 6 were freed and others became apprentices, bound to their former masters for a set period. This apprenticeship system was intended to be a transitional phase, allowing former enslaved people to gradually adjust to freedom while still providing labor to their former owners. However, this system was fraught with issues. Many former enslaved people found themselves in conditions that were not much better than slavery. They were still under the control of their former masters and had limited rights and freedoms. The apprenticeship system was supposed to last for 6 years, but it was eventually abolished in 1838 due to widespread criticism and resistance. Fewer than 50 enslaved Africans in British North America were immediately freed. This small number highlights the limited impact of the Emancipation Act in the Canadian context. The majority of the enslaved population in Canada had already been freed through gradual emancipation laws passed in the early 19th century. No compensation was given to Canadian slave owners, nor to those who had been enslaved. This lack of compensation was a significant point of contention. In other parts of the British Empire, slave owners were compensated for the loss of their property, but this was not the case in Canada. This decision reflected the relatively small number of enslaved people in Canada and the different economic and social conditions compared to other colonies. The lack of compensation for the formerly enslaved also meant that they had to start their new lives with very little support. Many faced significant challenges in finding work, housing, and integrating into society. Despite these difficulties, the end of slavery in Canada was a crucial step towards greater freedom and equality. Canada, however, became a haven for enslaved African Americans escaping the United States. The Underground Railroad, a network of secret routes and safe houses, helped thousands of enslaved people reach freedom in Canada. This legacy of Canada as a refuge for those fleeing slavery is an important part of the country's history and a testament to the enduring struggle for freedom and justice. The narrative of slavery in Canada is incomplete without acknowledging the enslavement of Indigenous peoples. Between the mid-17th century and 1834, thousands of Indigenous people, primarily young women, were forced into manual and domestic labor. This often overlooked aspect of Canadian history adds another layer of complexity to the legacy of slavery and the ongoing fight for justice and reconciliation. The Emancipation Act, while a pivotal moment, did not erase the deep scars of slavery. This landmark legislation, passed in 1833, marked the beginning of the end for institutionalized slavery in the British Empire. However, the journey towards true equality was far from over. The act itself was a compromise, with many enslaved people forced into a system of apprenticeship that continued their exploitation. The social and economic structures that had supported slavery for centuries did not disappear overnight. Instead, they evolved, perpetuating inequality in new forms. The fight for true equality continues today. Across the globe, people of all backgrounds come together to demand justice and equal rights. Modern-day equality marches and civil rights protests are a testament to the enduring spirit of resistance and the unyielding demand for fairness. Diverse communities work hand in hand, striving to dismantle the remnants of systemic racism and build a society where everyone is treated with dignity and respect. These movements are not just about addressing past wrongs, but also about creating a future where equality is the norm, not the exception. Descendants of enslaved people still grapple with the legacy of this inhumane system. The trauma and economic disadvantages passed down through generations are stark reminders of the long-lasting impact of slavery. Community gatherings discussing reparations highlight the ongoing struggle for justice and recognition. These discussions are crucial as they bring to light the need for tangible measures to address historical injustices. The historical images of slavery's impact serve as a powerful reminder of the atrocities endured and the resilience of those who survived. Calls for reparations, apologies, and meaningful action to address systemic racism are reminders that the journey toward justice is far from over. Modern protests against systemic racism, activists speaking at rallies, and legislative discussions on reparations all underscore the ongoing fight for equality. These efforts are not just symbolic, they are essential steps toward healing and reconciliation. The voices of activists and community leaders play a crucial role in pushing for policies that promote equity and justice. The echoes of the past resonate in the present, urging us to learn from history and strive for a more equitable future. By comparing historical and present-day images, we can see the progress made and the challenges that remain. Educational forums on history and equality are vital in fostering understanding and empathy. They remind us that the fight for justice is a continuous journey, one that requires collective effort and unwavering commitment. As we move forward, Let us honor the struggles of those who came before us and work tirelessly to create a world where equality is a reality for all.